My biggest tactic was really just like being myself, being very genuine. I feel like my authenticity comes off very well.
Yeah.
And I use that to my advantage, and I would DM people and I would just say like, hey, if you have any questions, let me know. And then they would just spill their guts to me. And I'm like, oh, and I would actually like help them out in the DMs, and they could trust me from that. So it was really
Let's Talk Assets podcast. My name is Chris A. Williams, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Giovonni Paradis, your favorite retired real estate agent.
Oh, okay. That's new. Y'all, today we got a very, very special guest. We got Jada Elam, the budget coach and founder of Green Line Planner.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Jada, it's great to have you here. So Jada, tell us a little bit more about you. We know you're the budget coach, of course. You handle things financially for people. You provide people with great solutions to get what they're looking for as far as money and such. So tell us a bit more about you, kind of where you started, how you got to this position and everything else.
Yeah, where you from? Let's start off there. Where you from?
I'm originally from Los Angeles, California.
Born and raised?
Born in Alabama, raised in Los Angeles.
So born in the country.
Yes.
Okay. How old were you when you moved out to the West Coast?
Less than a year, so I don't.
Oh, okay. Yeah, gotcha. So pretty much through and through native California.
Cali girl, yes.
Cali girl, yep. What part specifically?
Culver City.
Culver City, okay. So you're in LA.
LA.
I like that. What was it like growing up in LA?
It was really interesting because you have these two different realities going on at one time, and they're very close to each other. So you have like the slums, the streets, where it's grimy and it's dirty, it's concrete jungle for real, and you have to find the beauty in the graffiti and things like that. But then you can go maybe like 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30, and get to Beverly Hills, and like you're seeing these mansions and hills, and it's just glamour, and you want that. And so it kind of makes you want to get there and be real motivated to do it, but they make it so hard in LA because of all of the expenses and just how high priced everything is. So it's like these two different realities, and you're like, how are these coexisting, and how are they so close to each other? So it was really, really hard. And I knew that in order for me to do certain things that I wanted to do at the pace that I did, I had to move out of California. And that's why I'm in Virginia now.
Absolutely. Walk us through, kind of taking a step back. Like, what was high school like for you? Take us up to your senior year. What was going through Jada's head as far as what Jada wanted to do for a living?
So it actually starts all the way back in elementary school. Okay. There was like one day, I don't know how, I don't know why, but everything clicked. And I remember this day very distinctly. It clicked for me, and I was like, if I don't want my kids to be in the same position that I'm in now, it starts now. I have to get good grades throughout my entire school life, and to get into a good college, to get a good job. And the story that they usually tell you, the traditional way. Mm-hmm. And so I just made sure to do that. I made sure to get good grades, graduated high school with above 4.0, got into University of California, San Diego, graduated there with my bachelor's degree in international business, minor in accounting. And then I moved out here, as soon as I graduated.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And what year was that?
That was 2021.
2021. Yes. So kind of post-COVID, you went through all the
It was
school?
During COVID.
During COVID?
Yes.
So you still were under restrictions?
Yes. I moved in with my grandparents for the first year, and they made me get the COVID shot, the shot before I could move in with them. Mm-hmm. So it was definitely full-blown COVID. They were scared, and they were not having it. Yeah.
Growing up on the West Coast and then coming out here, kind of starting from nothing, mm-hmm. kind of from scratch after graduating college, what was the plan?
I didn't have one. Wow. I did not at all. So I actually was trying to go to Houston. And
why Houston?
Just because it was a buzz. There was a buzz around Houston. I was like, it's cheaper out there. Might as well. I was just looking for something cheaper, honestly. Mm-hmm. And I went out there, did a solo trip. I had it all planned out. Visited a whole bunch of different apartments. And they were all like, no, because I didn't have a job out there. I was a college graduate, so I didn't have actual funds and money to be 3.5 times the rent that they were looking for. So all this stuff, I basically just had saved up a lump sum of money from college refund checks. And so I was trying to prepay my rent for 6 months, and they were not having that either. So I was like, okay, like this quickly became a no for me. And so I had to fall back on a plan B, which is moving with my grandparents out here. And that's really how I came to VA for real.
What was your relationship like with them? I mean, I know you grew up 3,000 miles away.
Yeah.
So will you talk to them? Did you see them once, twice a year? Walk us through the dynamic between you guys.
So it's actually really interesting because my grandma is like my best friend.
Okay.
She really is. But when I moved out here, they kept saying like, you're different than what we thought you were.
In a good way or a bad way?
Bad way.
Oh, no.
What do you mean different? They thought you was an angel?
Yes.
Oh, no.
And they quickly found out that not to say I wasn't, but like I was a lot different. And especially because moving out here, it took more of a mental toll on me than I really expected it to. And so I was to myself, I was quiet because I didn't have a plan. So I was trying to figure it out, and they didn't understand that. They wanted me to just be bubbly in their face all the time. And I couldn't do that because I'm like, okay, I'm trying to make my business work. Like, that's the reason why I'm even moving to somewhere cheaper, because I really want to lower my expenses so I can get this business off the ground. And they didn't understand entrepreneurship either.
Yeah.
So they thinking I'm just in my room chilling all day. And I'm like, no, like I'm actually making moves on the computer. Like, I don't know, like if y'all think I'm just staring out the window the whole day, but I was really trying to make it work, making content. They didn't understand the content creation part of it either. So a lot of it was really hard trying to do that in their household. And they basically gave me a timeline. I had to get out. So I had to make some things shake. I had to get a job. I had to get another job to get higher pay so I could actually go afford a place. So it was a lot of like setbacks that I wasn't expecting. But I feel like all of those things kind of forced me to where I'm at now. And I'm very grateful for it because I learned a lot.
The thing I'm kind of most surprised about is you went to a pretty good school. You worked really hard to graduate with above a 4.0. That's a lot of hard work and dedication. So congratulations to you on that.
Thank
you graduated from college, which again is another major accomplishment. And you chose not to just go right into corporate America.
Wow.
What about, your either your upbringing or what's inside of you that said, okay, I got this degree. I went to a great college, did well, but now I don't want to go use that right away. I want to go do this plan.
So it's always been about passion for me. I've always been very particular about the jobs that I've taken. I started working at 14 years old, and it wasn't just like, oh, I'm working at McDonald's. I was working at a birth control clinic. I was the person that they saw before they saw the doctor. So I was really doing bigger things.
At 14 years old?
Yes.
Wow.
And I got that from a volunteer opportunity, and they were just like, did you apply? And I was like, no, I didn't know I could. And they were like, yeah, do it. And I was like, okay. So I've always had my hand in trying to be better than who the people were around me. And so really just making sure that I had a sense of pride in everything that I did was really why I said, you know what, I don't want to just go to some regular 9-to-5 job. I want to actually make this work because I feel like I had a lot of confidence in what I had inside of me. It wasn't just, oh, I feel like I can do it. Entrepreneurship is a buzz. No, it wasn't that. I've always had entrepreneurship in my head since a child. I wanted to be an obstetrician gynecologist. I wanted to really be an OB doctor. And after I took my first chemistry class, I was like, nah, not happening. But even when I had that as my dream, I always wanted to have my own practice. So it was always ownership was in my head. It was always a mindset for me. So I didn't think that it was weird or impossible for me to actually take that route. Mm-hmm. And at this point, I was a year in business, and I was feeling really good about it. And I was like, hey, I'm young. I mean, I might as well take that chance now, try it out. If it don't work, what's the worst? Get it up. So I'm like, might as well try it.
Yeah. So starting in your entrepreneurial journey, you said it was pretty lonely when you started. You're at your grandparents' house. They weren't really understanding the journey. So what kept you going despite it seems like you didn't have much support or not many people that understood the journey you were on?
It was really the clients that I had. They really kept it all going for me. Just the way that they encouraged me, the way that I've seen their lives change in just 3 to 6 months. All of that was very, very inspiring to me. Also, my relationship with God, 100%, we're locked in. That was really keeping me sane because I was alone. I didn't really know a lot of people out there, even though I knew my grandparents, they didn't really know me.
Yeah.
So it was just meeting everybody all over again. I didn't have friends. I didn't have anybody. So it was really hard, and I didn't I didn't realize that at first, but it definitely was the people that invested in me, and then I invested in them, and it was just a mutual relationship that really kept it up.
Yes. So many of your clients, you like you said, they kept you going. Mm-hmm. But where'd you first find your clients at? Were they like digital? Were you door knocking, find people? How'd you find your first couple clients?
So I'm really shy when it comes to like in-person marketing. I need to do better at that. But I got them, from Instagram, surprisingly. Okay. So my biggest tactic was really just like being myself, being very genuine. I feel like my authenticity comes off very well. Yeah. And I use that to my advantage, and I would DM people, and I would just say like, hey, if you have any questions, let me know. And then they would just spill their guts to me, and I'm like, oh. And I would actually like help them out in the DMs, and they could trust me from that. So it was really about building that trust. And then once I did, they were like, yeah, like I want to do this. And I motivated them to do it and to like say, let's start this foundation right. And I did get a lot of clients that way. Yeah.
Nice.
Where was your parents?
So my dad, he's currently in Germany. So he's never really been close to me physically. That I haven't had him close to me physically since like the 6th grade. But my mom, she was always taking care of my brothers. So I'm the oldest child, and so I had to grow up a lot faster. And for a large part of it, I felt like I was more mature than my mother, and that really hurt a lot. And it put a lot of mental stress on me, but I kind of just wanted to like prove that I could make better decisions than they did. Yeah. So at first it was like kind of like an anti-example motivator, but now my motivation and my purpose behind it is a lot different. So yeah.
Philip? Yeah. So you say that was your motivation, or one of your motivations when starting, kind of, proving people wrong a little bit.
Yeah.
But like you said, it has to change. I went through the same thing. When I first started my journey, it was like, okay, I want to prove all these people wrong. And then once you prove them wrong, it's like what's next? So you got to change your motivation up a little bit.
Yeah. And I can tell you from the journey I went on when a couple of years ago, I partnered with my cousin and things went south. I was living up in Massachusetts, and I had to pivot, move back here, kind of almost restart my life. And a lot of it was like not so much proving them wrong, but I had to prove to myself that I was right about myself. Yeah. That like what I believed in. I think that's what you did, right? Mm-hmm. Against all odds. Now, walk us through the job. What job did you take in order to survive?
So I actually started working with cold press. That was my first job out here, Town Center Cold Press, and I was the executive assistant for the CFO. And it was not like a normal job. It was really like a family for real. When I went the interview, I definitely felt like I was supposed to be there. I was just soaking up so much knowledge. I didn't care how much they were paying me for real. And I took a lot of the conversations and I really stored them in my heart, because that's really what gave me some of the gameplay, some of the thick skin that I needed to really make this work and go after what I wanted. They believed in me and they saw a lot in me. And so they really became like a good standard and a good like foundation for me out here too, for starting my life and like building a lot and building my name out here. They really helped me so much. So I will always have them in my heart. Love them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Where did you go when they gave you that time?
You said where did I go when they gave you?
Yeah, because you had to move out, right? Like you had to find out. So was that your first time truly on your own?
No. In college I was. So yeah. In college I was, and I actually moved off of campus after the first year, because I budgeted. I made the numbers work. I was like, nah, it's cheaper to move off campus and stay on. So I've been had like maybe at that point 3 apartments. So this was my 4th one coming out here, and like getting into the another roommate situation. But I basically asked people that I knew. I was just like, hey, you looking for a roommate? And then somehow, some way, somebody said, yeah. And I was like, all right, let's do this. Mm-hmm. Turned out to be a horrible roommate situation. Ooh. But I mean, I was like, it's a year of my life. I can sacrifice that, Yeah. Like, because I have to. I really don't have no other choice. So we got to make it work.
So you're on your own out here. Mm-hmm. Your family do you have other family besides your grandparents that were involved in your life out here?
Out here, not necessarily, no.
So you're kind of almost on an island?
Yes.
Yes. Did you make friends quickly, or what did you do to kind of, you had no kind of you got no background here, honestly. East Coast is a different place than the West Coast. Anybody that's traveled, the culture is very different here than it is there. I don't think the poverty line is as defined here.
Yeah.
Especially in the Hampton Roads, because there's not that many mega wealthy people. We don't have a bunch of celebrities living hidden in the hills. And, the poverty line, I don't think is, as low here as it is in parts of Cali, just because, we do have the military and the government here that stabilize our economy from a middle class perspective. So walk us through the emotions of, okay, you're on your own now. Grandparents, quote unquote, gave you notice. Hey, you got to do this on your own. You're working that cold press. What is going through your mind?
So you asked about like friends, and to be honest, what I first did was men. I used my beauty to my advantage, and I got around because I didn't have a car when I first got out here. So they were taking me around the city. They showed me a lot of stuff. They were paying for my meals. So like not necessarily like using them, but more so like I was interested in some of them, but at the same time, like I was getting what I needed. So I definitely used that. My grandmother didn't understand it, which I understand.
More conservative.
Yeah. But that was my way to quickly learn the city, and to do it in a way that wasn't as expensive.
Yeah.
So
use your beauty as an asset.
Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily do it so much now, but back then it definitely helped.
We were all young at one point.
It's part of the journey. You got to
part of the journey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think we've all done questionable things to survive in our lives. So there's no judgment from this side.
Yeah.
So you kind of learned the city. Now you're working a job.
Mm-hmm.
And you were still doing your entrepreneurial journey throughout
Yes.
this, right?
Yeah. Walk us through the balance. Like, when did you have time?
So back then, it was chill, like, because it wasn't too much. My business wasn't doing that well. So, like, I didn't have that many clients. I wasn't, like, booming like that. So I had a lot of time to work on the back end stuff, on the content stuff. So that was really what I was focusing on at that point. And then once my grandma gave me the notice, I had to actually get a different job because they weren't paying me enough. They were only paying me, I think, like $12 an hour at that point. I was like, I'm not going to be able to do this.
Yeah.
So I ended up pivoting really quickly to being an accounting assistant for like this traveling nurse company. And that was actually pretty cool. They helped me out. They went from $20 an hour, increased it to $25 because I told them I was like, I'm trying to do stuff. And they actually gave it to me. And then, funny enough, I kind of, around December time, I think this was December 2022, I had a feeling that they were going to fire me. So I had a feeling. And every time I got on Indeed, I felt like I wasn't supposed to be on Indeed. I was like, nah, there's something else that's going to happen. And so I was like, all right, God, like, what is it going to be? Because I don't know. And sure enough, one day, the boss, the CEO, called me in, and we usually have weekly meetings, but this time he was real cold in the face. And I was like, I'm over here trying to crack jokes. I'm like, oh, I bought 2 pens. I'm double prepared. Like, I was just cracking corny jokes, and he was not laughing. I was like, okay. He basically didn't waste time. He was just like, so I'm gonna have to let you go, and you can go ahead and pack up your stuff now. And and I was like, I got it. And it wasn't anything that I did necessarily. They just didn't have the money to pay me. The company was going under, and that's why I could see that. Yeah. So
this was cold press or another one?
No, this was the nursing company.
Oh, okay.
And so I was like, dang, like, okay, I kind of saw this coming, but what am I gonna do? And it wasn't
Maxim by any chance, was it?
Was it? No.
Okay.
No, it was like a smaller company. Okay. Yeah. And so I was like, what am I gonna do? But that's when, as Chris would say, I became famous. That's when I blew up. My videos started going viral. I got multiple million watched videos, and they kind of just blew up, and I started getting a lot of followers. So a lot of things were happening. I was getting brand deals, like stuff was just popping. But then I got fearful. I got really, really fearful. And I didn't know how to handle the fear. And so I always kept up with the owners of Cold Press. And I remember they just opened the one in the Hilton. And I was like, oh, give me a tour. Like, let's do it. And so the lady that I worked under, she gave me a tour. And then, I'm telling her how, like, everything happened. She was like, well, what are you going to do? And I was like, oh, I'm probably just going to work my business. So I make that shake. She was like, okay, well, like, you know, she started just handing me resources. And then one day she basically offered me to be part owner of one of the locations. And she was like, how would you want to own the location on Collie? And I was like, yeah. I was like, that's a really huge compliment, because I'm at this point, like 23? And I'm like, being an owner of a coffee shop? Yeah, I'd love to do that. Yeah. So it was a work to earn ownership, because obviously I don't have $100,000 to just be like, here you go. I don't have that. So, not yet at least. But so she basically was like, yeah, work to earn ownership. You know, each year percentage of ownership goes up. I'm like, all right, bet. So I was working there, and that's basically how I kind of like took that job. And then that's actually when we met for like the second time. And yeah, I was like, I want to be out. I wanted to be out because I saw what it took, and I was like, this is way too much time for the opportunity, and this is not my only opportunity. And I believe
so you gave up ownership.
I did.
Wow.
So you bet on yourself.
Yes. Yes.
Roll the dice. Okay. You think it's paid off so far?
Yes, definitely. Yes. 100%.
Why the budget queen? Why get into that field? I mean, obviously you minored in accounting, so you good with numbers. But walk us through how the genesis of that idea, that concept. Because I mean, budgeting is something that I think 99% of Americans need.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us about how you stumbled upon that, how you made that your passion, and why it's worked, you think?
I didn't even know this was going to be my passion. I knew I was like math classes, but I was actually in college, and I did an internship with the Black Resource Center there, and I was actually required to do 2 programs a quarter. And so I always, you know, went to the financial aid office. I was crunching numbers. I was doing this, trying to make moves and like moving money around, just like thinking about money in a bigger picture. And I wanted to teach other people, other students, how to do the same thing. And so because I knew I was doing it, I'm like, I can make a template, I can make a worksheet, like I can actually do a workshop around this. And when I did, a lot of people came out, and it was really successful. Everybody was like, thank you so much. And I was like, yeah, I'm like, I can do this. And
where was your first event? Was it in person? Where?
At the university. So it was actually in the Black Resource Center. I held it there. Yes.
At what campus?
The University of California, San Diego.
Oh, so back home.
Yes.
Okay, so this company started back home.
Yes, it did. Yes. And that was a big thing too. For moving out here, I had to switch my customer base to the East Coast, and that was a lot too. But yeah, so I put on the program, and then I wanted to do more of them, but then COVID hit unexpectedly, and at this point I was like, okay, I have nothing to do. I'm like, so I might as well do something. I was always very creative, and I always said I wanted to publish a book. So I started creating a budget planner, and I designed it, and I looked up different ways to do it. It took a long time. It took at least 6 months just to like finalize everything. It was a long process, but I was determined, and I had nothing else to do. So I was like, let's do it.
Yeah.
So I started selling planners, but I know how we are, especially as young people. Like, we pick something up, put it down, don't think about it. And I kind of started getting into it. I'm like, nah, money's way deeper than just calculating numbers and stuff like that. I'm like, it really is attached to how we view ourselves, how we view the world, how we view what's possible for us. So like, I wanted to really get into the mindset of it all. So I invested like $10,000 into a business coach, and then she helped me like
How much did you invest?
$10,000.
So I want everyone that's watching this is we've had previous podcast guests, people that are worth tens of millions of dollars. The number one they tell you is if you only have $5,000 or $10,000, they wouldn't invest in nothing but themselves.
Yeah.
You got to invest in yourself. So to invest $10,000 on a business coach, I mean, I think that's the definition of all in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So walk us through why that coach. How easy was it for you to part with the 10K and the value you gained from it?
Got you. So I chose her because she was basically reminding me of myself. Like, she was very genuine, very authentic. The way she approached me wasn't salesy. It wasn't none of that. I was like, okay, I can rock with you. And she knew what she was talking about. So I evaluated her for a couple months. I didn't just like go in.
You dated her a little bit.
Yes, definitely. Especially if I'm going to spend that much, 100%. And it was really easy for me to part because I knew, I'm like, you know, small risk, I'm going to get small reward. I need to like invest for real. And especially in myself. I'm like, if it's going into me, I know I can like make this pop, and I know I can get the return. I know I can make the money back. So it was really easy for me to part as well, because I'm like, if I'm spending thousands of dollars on a college education and it's not giving me everything that I need and more, this is really specific. This is very niche down to exactly what I want to do. And it's $10K. I'm like, we easily hand over thousands of dollars to that. I can do that here. It's the same thing to me.
What was the program? Like, walk us through the program as far as the length of time, what you got, value, how much interactions you got with the coach.
So it was for a year, and I met with her twice a month. But outside of that, I had 24/7 access to her. So I would voice message her like every day about questions that I had. She gave me access to a lot of different workshops that she had, a lot of different courses that she had. She just gave me a whole lot of information, and I still have a lot of that to this day. And so that was really what it was. It was like, I can keep this information forever. And I was like, okay, cool. All the notes. I'm a very good note taker. So all the notes I have is still here with me to today. And I'm actually using a lot of those principles to like now coach other people who want to be coaches. So I was just flipping even that knowledge. But it was easy because basically I just maxed out credit cards for real. It was not cash. I definitely maxed out credit cards.
The 10 grand you spent was maxed on credit cards.
Yes, it was.
So, I mean, you didn't just go all in. You was all in. There's an old saying, I know I'm showing my age here, but it's called in for a penny, in for a pound. You ever heard about that?
No.
So, I mean, that's pretty much you all in at that point, right? Yeah, it's kind of looks like to me that you didn't have a plan B.
I literally remember having a conversation with my dad, because he's a very, very logical person and very, very plan B, plan C, plan D, you know? So he was like, so what's plan B? I said, if I'm going to go for this, there is no plan B. I can't think like that. And I just remember telling him that. And he was like, all right, like, I believe in you. So I believe in you, you know, so I know you can do it.
Yeah.
If you really put your mind to it. And I'm like, yeah, I will.
Yeah. And it looks like it's paid off so far. But I want to go back a little bit, Jada, talking about, you know, your transition from times in the cold press to full-time entrepreneurship. You're working at 9-to-5 job. You said it was pretty good for you. What are some of the valuable things you learned in business from that job that's helped you out in your entrepreneurial journey?
Definitely learning how to pivot. That's one thing I can say that they do very well. And also the people that they had in place. The CEO, he is very, very inspiring, because the conversations that we would have, he would give me so much game on just like the team building and making, you know, the importance of having the right team. The importance of having like a non-emotional mindset about a lot of stuff, because as a woman, you know, naturally we're emotional. So he helped me to like see a different side of things when it came down to that. And he would always talk to me, because they all knew what I had going on. I always had to make that known. I'm like, listen, I got this going on. So, you know, if I ever do leave, it's because of that and not for any other reason, because I rock with y'all. So, like, he would always be like, you're an entrepreneur. You're trying to do it. Like, what about you? So he would always push me and, like, ask me questions and, like, really, like, take me out of my comfort zone and stretch my mindset. And that was really the biggest thing. He always shared with me his personal story. And he always asked me, especially in the interview, like, I don't want to know about your successes. At that point, I was very successful in, like, you know, college career, all these things. Like, you look at my life and be like, dang, like, you had a lot of wins. Yeah, but he didn't care about that. He cared more about my failures, because he wanted to know, like, what did you learn? How do you respond in failures? How do you respond in those times? Like, do you make them lessons? Do you use it? Do you, like, reinvest the knowledge that you learned from falling? And, like, can you scrape your knee and get right back up? Like, how are you with that? And so even in the interview, I loved the fact that he asked me that question. So I was like, oh, yeah, I'm with them. Like, I can learn a lot.
Now what the kids call you got that dog in you? I'm older now. I'm trying to get hip to all the sayings. Right? I love that. I mean, I love that journey that you went all in and kind of showed that courage on top of kind of really having no backup. I think that's what makes it all the more impressive to go all in on yourself without backup. Now you take the coaching course, business starts to pick up.
Definitely.
At one point, do you start thinking about quitting your job?
So I was actually working with her back in Cali. So I didn't.
Oh, as a college student?
No, she was, I forgot where she was. She was in a whole nother state.
Okay.
But we met virtually. We definitely were in the same state.
No, I'm saying, were you in college?
Yes. So
you spent that $10K while you were in college?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So as soon as I moved out here, I think I maybe had like 3 more months with her.
Yeah.
And then it was cut. And after that was done, I basically like went into kind of like a hibernation mode. I wasn't really promoting myself like that. I was just making content because I knew I had to stay consistent, but like I wasn't selling anything. And that's just because mentally the move did really affect me more than I expected it to. So I didn't think about quitting my job until like 2 months ago.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I've always wanted to, but I was always too scared because I still had that real logical piece in the back of my head. I'm like, ooh, that stability, I don't know.
So what gave you the courage to go ahead and make the move?
To be honest, it was nothing but God, because I really did it. I was praying for 6 months. Like, God, like, I'm not moving until you say move. And there was one night he made it very clear. Spoke through different people, spoke to me personally. And I was like, I'm doing it. And I went ahead because I spoke to one of my friends, and I remember we met in a coffee shop that day, and she's like, you look different. And she was just like, you know, like, are you going to leave that place soon? And I was like, yeah, I'm thinking about it. She was like, well, you should write your resignation letter in faith. And that was early in the day that I went to an event. And then, I mean, gosh, just pouring into me. And then the lady calls me up front, and she just starts speaking about it. And I'm like, yo. And so it was just so much confirmation. And so, yeah, next day, wrote my resignation letter, sent it in. And I was like, I have no plan B. I had no money saved for real. Like, I was just like, let's go.
Those doors are.
Yeah. I was like, God say move. I got to move.
Tell the audience a little bit about what happened right after you resigned from that job.
So I'm still in it. Like, it's still very fresh. But
That major event that happened.
What major event that happened?
That special deal?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you for reminding me, because I'm like, so much be happening. Yeah, so after that, I got two great deals. So one was I was able to basically get this software, very blessed with it. And now that's my digital finance planner. And in literally like 30 days, got like over 250 people on there, got it going, and it's doing very well. And that's passive income because they're paying me monthly for that. So that's really, really nice. And then, and with that, I actually get 60% rev share. So amazing.
Nice.
And then I got another one where, with the government contract, all of this stuff fell in my lap. I didn't have to go search for it. I had to go knock on nobody's door. I had to send no emails. It just fell in my lap. And then I basically now have just $1,000 just coming in, like guaranteed. And so I was so scared about having secure money, and like God's like, here you go. I got you. Locked me in with a couple contracts. I was like, wow, like, this is crazy.
Yeah, but you had to step out and take faith and quit your job first to get access to those opportunities like you did.
Yeah.
You did. You were rewarded for it. So that's great. So Green Line Planner, you know, you've done with over 1,000 clients at this point, helping them with budgeting, financial needs, and things like that. So let's talk more about that. You know, you're present now. I have a question for you. What's the most common thing that people are dealing with when they come to you, I would say, like as far as issues, financial issues and such?
A lot of it is really like their mindset and self-discipline. Okay. That's the major thing. A lot of people kind of like, they have an idea of what they got going on, but the organization of it all is not there. The strategy isn't there, and the planning isn't there. And so a lot of them they're having a hard time with getting past the actual implementation of it all. And I tell them this all the time. I'm like, I can make a budget for you. I can give you the numbers. I can give you the breakdown, but it's up to you to actually put it into play. And so the biggest thing that I tell them is like, you have to know yourself, because once you know yourself, then you know your triggers. When you know your triggers, then we got to put boundaries and make space in between you and your triggers, because it's harder to get rid of a trigger than it is to put space in between it. So just for an example, like if you know that you constantly always transfer money from your savings account to like your checking account, okay, I tell them split your accounts up. Have one for bills, have one for spending. Don't even mix them. I tell them put their spending account in a completely different bank. So it's actually putting more of like an action behind, okay, if I really want to move this money, I got to move this money. Like, you know, it's not a simple transfer. So it really is something like that. Or even if you know that you spend too much at Target every time you go, take cash, leave your cards in the car. Like, put boundaries on yourself. And I always tell them, like, don't say limits, say boundaries. Boundaries are there to keep us safe. They're stop signs of boundaries. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're there to make sure that we don't go into the danger zone of overspending and then being like, okay, where my light bill can come from.
What was your biggest challenges starting the business?
I would say really just the opposition. A lot of people they never seen it, especially not at my age. So they were like, I don't know. Are you sure? And it was also my own opposition. Like I like mentally, my imposter syndrome. I'm like, I'm 20 years old telling people what to do with their money. Like, like how am I supposed to do that? Like, are 35-year-olds gonna really listen to me? Like, they gonna be like, you ain't been through nothing. But once I came out here, I actually went through some stuff, and then I was like, at first I was a little mad about it, but then I was like, God, you know what? If I didn't go through nothing, like, how would I be able to tell people what to do, and how would I be able to like empathize with them? How would I be able to understand exactly how it feels to be in a situation? So like, yes, I went through stuff as a kid, and watching my mom, I learned a lot from watching other people. But watching like all those mistakes financially, that was a lot of what helped me start. But then to keep going, I definitely needed those times where I was like on my own, down and out, and like I had to like climb myself out of holes.
Just remember, without no test, there's no testimony, right?
Amen to that.
So you tell us a little more about why someone uses your services.
So it's a lot of because people are not taught this at home. The conversation is just not happening. It's not being had, especially in like the minority communities. Yeah. We are not passed down information about finances like that, because they barely know what they're doing with it when it comes down to it. The information was just really gate-kept from us. So we have to go out and search for it. And, we got to learn this new language. So people usually come because they're like, okay, like, I'm getting my first big girl job, or I'm actually making money now. Like, I don't want to screw this up. I don't want to blow it. I want to actually, like, start off right and not have stress. I want to actually be able to know what I'm doing, have confidence in my money, and be able to plan ahead so I can get the things that I want.
What do you see commonly was people's biggest downfall?
Not saving and getting into a lot of credit card debt.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing. A lot of them don't have savings accounts.
From both younger people and older people?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
What is the danger of credit card debt?
The danger is really the interest. Because I tell people all the time, I'm like, y'all trying to jump to investments. I'm like, you have your investments trying to pull you up, and then your debt pulling you down. Yeah. So I'm like, if you have both at the same time, you're just going to stay even. Yeah. Unless your investments really just like blow up for real. But I'm like, you have to really get rid of that downward arrow so that everything that you're doing is just working up. So I really try to get them to understand, like, I am the foundational piece. I am ground zero. Like, start here, and then I can refer you to other people to help you with investments, help you with other stuff for like wealth building. But you need to know what you are doing with what you have first before you try to grow it.
Yeah. I saw a study recently, and quote me if I'm wrong, but it was like the average American has less than $1,000 in their emergency fund. Have you seen something like that recently?
I've seen a lot of scary statistics before. I don't necessarily remember them off of memory, but yeah, like they definitely don't have a lot of money in their savings accounts. I recently talked to somebody because I did a Mother's Day giveaway, and a lot of these mothers, they don't have savings accounts like I would think. I was like, oh, how many savings accounts do you have? Oh, I have 2 savings accounts. Okay, what's in the first one? $7. What's in the second one? $2. I said, okay, so that's going to be like priority.
Yeah, get more money in savings account. Okay, yeah, I mean, there was a real life example of that. I went to Zales the other day to get one of my necklaces fixed, and there was a military guy who was in there. Military, they're getting consistent pay, so he knows what he's making. And I guess he was trying to buy an engagement ring, but they required a deposit. Now, it's not a crazy deposit. It was an $80 deposit. He wasn't able to pay for it because he said he's waiting on his next check. I'm like, golly, like, this is crazy. Like, $80, you don't have $80 to front you, at least for one day. Yeah. So for a person like that, like, what would you be able to advise them for?
So I always say that there's like lines of defense when it comes down to your finances. The first one I call like a contingency fund. This is like miscellaneous money. You might just throw $100 in your wallet. I don't know, something small. I usually don't say more than 2 because it's a contingency fund. It's not really an emergency fund. After that, definitely have an emergency fund. Start building that up. After that, the line of credit that I say, the line of defense that I say next would probably be credit cards before loans. The only reason why I'm saying that is because of its availability. Usually you have a credit card in your wallet, but loans you got to go out and apply, wait for it to be approved, all these things. So if I didn't say credit cards first, I would definitely put loans just because the interest rates are a lot lower on loans. But those are literally the lines of defense, and I tell them, like, make sure that you're going in order because you don't want to just skip to a loan, but you got an emergency fund. Like,
so say those lines of defense again.
So a contingency fund, so just like miscellaneous money, either in your checking account or cash. And then definitely having an emergency fund. That I definitely recommend having a high yield savings account, because while it's sitting, it needs to do something. And then after that, have a line of credit. So have a credit card available, and then basically have a good credit score so you can get a loan if you need it. These are all just like emergency cases, right? And I always tell people, have a set number that you want to save for your emergency, because I recommend typically 3 to 6 months, maybe just really 3 to 4 for my preference, of actual like liquid emergency savings.
Right.
Other than that, once you have that amount, stop saving, because that's not the best thing that you can do with your money. It's really investing. You want to grow it. You want it to be doing something for you. It just sitting in an account, yes, 3 to 5% interest on a high yield savings account. Okay, cool. But that's really just like collecting like dust for real. Like you want to be doing something a lot better with your finances. So I tell them, have that number, have it set. Once you reach that goal, move on.
For all the people that listen to you, how many people don't?
I would say 25%.
They don't listen to you?
Yeah.
So you gotta go.
You just can't get them out their own way.
Yeah. Because they it's just a lot of excuses. And, I tell them there's a difference between like a millionaire mindset and a broke mindset. Millionaire mindset, it's rolls and returns. Everything got to roll. Everything's going to try to make a return. Now, when you have a broke mindset, it's spend. At the end of the word spend is end. So all the transactions, it ends there. Like it don't go past that. So I'm like, you have to start thinking about when you're spending money, you are actually investing it. And like, what is it going to give you? Is it going to give you some sort of satisfaction, or is it going to give you some more money? Is it going to give you another opportunity, education, more knowledge? Like, what is it going to give you for real? And if you always think about what you're getting back from the thing that you're investing money into, then you'll make a lot better decisions. Yeah.
What brought you on this podcast?
Chris.
Wait, no, I said what? Now who?
No, I always love sharing knowledge, telling my story, just because I think that testimonies are always very powerful. So hearing anybody's story can motivate you. It can give you a lot of things that you can learn from without having to actually go through things as well, by just hearing the other people's failures and what they've learned from it. So I definitely didn't want to pass up this opportunity, because any opportunity to get on a mic and share.
That's beautiful. Before we continue interrogating you and asking you a little more about your business, I wanted to open up to allow enough time so we can end the episode with highlighting your business and what you do for people. We always ask the guest, or allow the guest to ask Chris and I both a question, unfiltered, whatever you want to ask. And so you can go first on Chris, and then I'll go second. Anything you want to ask?
Okay. Okay, Chris. If you were speaking to your younger self when you were kind of going through like the hardest point in your life, from this standpoint, what you know now, what would you say?
Which hardest point in my life? First, I'll say there's been multiple hardest points in my life.
Pick one. It's up to you. Yeah.
Can you repeat the question one more time?
So speaking to your younger self, like preferably like under 20. The hardest point from like whatever point in time that is, under 20, what would you tell yourself knowing what you know now?
If I had to speak to my younger self, I would tell myself, just keep going no matter what. Just keep going. Consistency and discipline is what's really going to get you to the point that you want to be at. No matter what you're going through right now, it's always going to get better. There's always light at the end of the tunnel, because I went through some crazy things. I've been through some things, some things I haven't even told the public yet, but, maybe one day I'll talk about it. But just making sure, like, I knew that despite how it's going right now, it will get better. And like you said, you mentioned, just having faith and, just knowing that God's going to allow you out of the situation. But also, too, got to give that disclaimer. The Bible also says without works, faith is dead.
Yes.
Basically, yeah. So you got to be putting in the work also, too. You can't just be like, oh, I believe, such and such is going to happen, without actually putting any action towards it. If you put the action towards it and you combine faith with those, you're going to be unstoppable. Yeah. So that's what I would tell myself. Just keep going.
Love it.
Yeah. And let's see, for you.
Oh, man. I'm nervous.
I don't really like regrets, but if there was one thing that you would go back and do a little bit differently, now don't pick something small. Pick something that's like major, life-changing.
This is kind of easy for me.
What would you do?
I've been to federal prison and I've been to state prison. I've been to prison twice. And prison isn't hard for certain individuals. For me, it wasn't hard. But putting my mother and putting my family through that experience is almost because the part of them is in there with you.
Got you.
And I knew my mother's life wasn't, complete. I was my mom's only child until I was 14. My little brother's 14 years younger than me. And me and my mom grew up together in a way. My mother, she had me, she was 21, but, she was in the Olympics. My mother was training for the Olympics when she got pregnant with me. So, basically, my mom gave up her dream basically and had me. My mom could have had an abortion and I could have never been born. So she gave me life. She raised me kind of, good or bad, but gave me all my qualities. And, just putting her through that, that experience, I'm sure it was more traumatic for her than even me, maybe as a man, because, I quickly evolved in those situations. But if I had to say I regret anything, that would be it. It's putting her through trauma. You know what I mean? Because it's one thing for me to get punished for my mistakes, but for my family to indirectly be punished because I was a fool, it was the hardest pill to swallow in my life, off of everything I've ever done.
Wow, thank you. Thank you for that.
No problem.
Yeah.
So, someone watching this podcast and in general wants to get in contact with you, or is thinking about, hey, I need to do something better financially, what would you say, or why would you say you're a great first step? Because I would first, believe, and this is shout out to my mom. My mom made me work since I was 14 years old. I remember I asked her for $20 to go to the movie. She gave me $20 and told me I'd start work Monday. I wasn't even in high school yet. I was going there. I said, what? And she said, yeah. And then when I got my first paycheck, I remember my mom sitting me down. I was 14 years old. And my mom taught me how to manage my money. And I've never been broke. I mean, what I consider broke.
Yeah.
Since then, I've always had, and if I went back to zero, I went down, I was able quickly to come up because I had budgeting skills. I knew, what I could spend versus what I earned. And then what's so funny is I worked for a Fortune 500 company selling timeshare, vacation ownership packages, and they taught us a lot of financial education, right? A lot of the part of the financial education, they told us there's only two ways to get ahead in life. You have to make more than you spend, or you have to spend less than you earn. That's the only two ways. So for people watching this, why would you say, because I believe, and I'm just from my personal experience, that this is a great first step of getting your life in order, is because whatever you make now, the only way to get ahead is budget. And I think we live in a consumerism type society now, more so than before, where, hey, new shoes, I got to get the new shoes. Yeah. Hey, I got to get this. Got to upgrade my car. Got to get jewelry. Got to get this. Got to get that. And hey, what about putting some money aside for your future? What about putting money aside to invest? Yeah. Invest in yourself. Why would you say it's a great first step?
Budgeting, it really does determine a lot of the habits that you're going to use when you do have a lot more money. So it's just really about building that muscle of having that self-discipline, being able to tell yourself no, be able to put money to the side and think long term. So all these things that you need to do when you have a lot of money, you definitely need to start at the base level and do it when you have a little bit, just because it's a lot easier to to apply it. But really it's building the foundation for everything else to be built off of. Building wealth, they say building it because there has to be a foundation, and budgeting is that foundation. It's the skills of knowing how to plan, organize, and even just understand money. Like they say, accounting is the language of money. Budgeting is really the root of understanding how to even manipulate it and move it for real.
I love it. So what I want to do for our viewers, right? I want to do something special. What I would like to do is, you have a consultation, right?
Yes.
For people trying to get their life in order. We would like, we're going to do, I don't know how we're going to determine it. We'll release how it's determined, but for those who watch our podcast, because we have some faithful viewers, but anyway, what we're going to do, who shares our podcast, we're going to select someone, and we're going to pay for a free consultation with you to get their life together. Yeah, because I mean, we're here about, hey, this is Let's Talk Assets. And, we brought a lot of people on this podcast who are a lot older. You're very young. I'm over 10 years older than you, so very impressed by what you've accomplished, what you've done, the risk you've taken, the courage you've shown. But I think to have you on here is great for the viewers, because it puts them in a more relatable place. Because these people that are, double our age or double your age, hey, how do I get there? Well, a good first step is you need to be saving money. You need to be budgeting. So what we would like to do for the people watching, Chris and I are both going to be sharing on our social media, and maybe you as well too, is that, hey, those who share our podcast, and we're going to select a winner at some point. We're going to give a certain amount of time for the sharing to happen, and then we'll select somebody, for a free consultation with yours truly.
Yeah,
but they have to follow you first.
They have to follow you. Yep, we're going to put some requirements in there.
They got a book with the link in your bio, and tell them your Instagram.
At Green Line Planner. So green like the color green, line like a number line, and planner.
Great.
Yes,
so Green Line Planner. So over 1,000 clients served. You got multiple million views on TikTok, Instagram, doing a lot of great things. Tell us what's next.
Really in person. I've been behind the screen so much. I want to physically talk to people. I want to speak in front of a large audience. That's always been a vision. And I don't really like speaking on a lot of stuff, but I really want to do a tour. I really want to do a tour.
And at the tour, you're going to introduce your new thing?
Yes.
Okay, tell them a bit more about that.
So the digital finance planner is absolutely amazing because it can connect to your bank accounts, and it automatically categorizes all your transactions for you. It sets you up almost kind of like a 3-story mall. So the first level is for the financial management of it all, anywhere from debt management, which it actually does give you a debt payoff plan, to budgeting, seeing like if you're over budgeting, things like that, to even shopping for insurance plans. So all that's on the 3rd floor. The 2nd level is financial education. So you can have access to thousands of videos and blogs from financial experts, from myself to other people. And you can get all those answers that you're looking for right then and there within the same platform. And the 1st level is the social. So that's where you're able to connect with me, and also a messaging feature between me and also other members are going to be available soon too.
Nice.
So.
And that's called the Digital Financial Planner?
Yes.
And where can they find that at?
They can find that by clicking the link in my bio at Greenline Planner on Instagram.
So just make sure you don't forget about us though when you get famous. Okay.
Famous.
No, I'm not.
Okay, I love it. Well, when you get mega famous, okay, we put the mega by in front of the famous. But no, we're super excited about that, and love. Again, I'm kind of starting my journey on trying to do some events, but it would definitely be great for all of us to collab, do a workshop, and then do something where we can, again, give people financial education, give back to the community, and we all grow together.
Yes, I would love that.
Well, Jada, we appreciate you coming on. Everybody, make sure you follow her at Greenline Planner. Make sure you follow us too. Let's Talk Assets Podcast. Make sure you share the podcast, share with people who will find these things effective, find some value in it. We always try to provide you guys with as much value as possible. All right, guys, this is us signing off.
Giovonni Paradis
and Chris A. Williams. Let's Talk Assets.